3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, Steve.
Hello.
So here we are on 3, 2, 1 chats, and we're going to do some chatting. I think we should start out with, we were just discussing Ozzy's passing, and I think we should just start out with like a moment of silence for him because he was a huge part of both of our childhoods. If you want to say something else, Steve.
Oh yeah, I grew up as a kid. I mean, listening to Black Sabbath, and then I think he's one of the only artists that I really know that's like went on to a solo career that became even bigger as a solo artist. So yeah, a moment of silence for Ozzy.
You know, I would add too that when his big concert, his farewell tour was happening, I had forgotten how many fantastic songs he had. I didn't go, but I heard them replay it. And you just forget how many albums and how much songs and how many, all the words, and you forget that. So that was a really cool thing that it happened. Luckily, it happened before he passed away.
Oh yeah, I'm thrilled, and my heart's broken, and my thoughts and prayers go out to the Osborne family.
Cool. Okay, so let's go into our 3, 2, 1 as authors. I'm going to introduce myself first, and then Steve, you're going to go second. Is that all right? And then we'll jump into the questions, and we'll figure out things as we go along. So I am C.K. Westbrook. I'm a environmentalist and author, and I live and work in Washington, D.C. I am my series is called the Impact Series. I'm a science fiction author. So most science fiction books or series have a catastrophic event that happens, global. And in my series, my first book is called The Shooting. And my catastrophic event is very unique. Almost every gun owner in the world turns their weapon on themselves in a terrifying 15-minute global mass shooting. Worldwide chaos. Hero rises up. Her name is Kate, along with her neighbor, Sinclair. She works for Space Force. He works for NASA. They have to go on a quest to find out how on Earth and why on Earth something so catastrophic could happen. Book 2 in the series, and that one was published in 2022. Collision was published in 2022 as well. It involves Kessler syndrome, space debris, kind of very modern issues going on with the space industry. And they have to go on this quest and find out, but I will tell you that there is a major collision involved in that book, hence the title. The third book in the series, which was published in 2023, is called The Judgment. Someone's getting judged for some terrible behavior and choices that resulted in a catastrophic global mass shooting. And the fourth book in the series is The Aftermath, which is actually, this is the tight series. Judgment pretty much ends the series, but Aftermath takes place 5 years after the shooting. So it's like after the dust settles. Is it dystopia? Is it utopia? Like, what is the world like now? And it came from a lot of people asking me questions, and even like kids at conventions saying, wow, what would a world be like without guns? And other people angry because, guns are very, they trigger emotion in Americans. A lot of people really love their guns. So this was an interesting, like, after things like, what is the world like when the dust settles? And it was, sprang from speaking to a lot of my readers. So that is, in a nutshell, the Impact series. I do have a couple of books coming out at the end of this year, maybe next year. And it's before the Impact. So it's kind of a new series. And it's kind of like the events that led up to the July 15th global mass shooting. So Steve, do you want to introduce yourself and yours? I know you have more books than me, or at least I think you have 2 series. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have 3 actually. So my name's Steve Altier. I'm a middle grade and young adult writer. I write mystery, suspense, and adventure stories. And I'll start first with the Gabby and Maddox stories. These are just good, wholesome family stories for the young ones. This one is Blast Off. This one has a we all need to get along type of message. And then I've got, when the kids visit their grandparents down in Florida and they get a chance to go up on to join the children's astronaut program and go up into outer space. But then this one here is Adventures in Italy. It has an anti-bully message. I have a few other books like We Can't Move at Christmas, which is a wonderful Christmas story about this brother and sister, Gabby and Maddox. They have another story that is out. It's Over the Falls with Gabby and Maddox when they visit Niagara Falls. And all of these middle grade stories have some sort of message, and they all are just good, wholesome stories that try to teach a little bit of values. Respect. We don't lie. We treat each other with respect and dignity. And then I stepped up. I was actually kind of a funny story I'll tell real quick, but I was at Barnes and Noble for this book signing for Blast Off, and I had a couple of teenage guys come up to me, and they're like, "Oh man, that's baby stuff. What do you got for me?" I mean, what do you say to that? And you're just like thrown in the spot. I mean, I have nothing for a teenager. So at that point, um, I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania called Mill Hall. I grew up on a road called Lizardville Road, and it's a real place, Lizardville Road. You can Google it, look it up. It's in Mill Hall, Pennsylvania. But I grew up there. We all called the place Lizardville. So I started writing the Lizardville Ghost Stories. And the first book in the series is The Camping Trip. It's set in the 1970s when a group of boys go out onto the banks of Big Fishing Creek where there's an old abandoned axe factory. And the oldest guy, he wants to scare all the younger guys. So he tells them the legends of the axe factory murders. That wakes up the spirit world and the chaos begins. And then in book 2, Jimmy's Curse, the story continues, and they're trying to still figure out how do we get the spirits back where they belong. And it continues on, and they have a little bit of success there. They find some books written by an author named Gerald Dupickle, who actually helps them along the way. And then I recently released in May, Return to Lizardville. I love this cover, by the way. Four Horsemen did an amazing job. This cover just jumps out at me. But this is when some of these guys, and now they're married and have kids, they come back to Lizardville 25 years later. And they're coming back, and their kids, like, Dad's told us these ghost stories his entire life. And now what are we supposed to do, with when we're here and there's no ghost here? And they started venturing out on their own. And well, lo and behold, they unlock a few secrets that should have remained unlocked or should have remained locked away. But Return to Lizardville, the final book in that trilogy series, fantastic stories if you love reading mystery suspense, that spine-tingling, edge-of-your-seat stuff that'll keep you guessing until the end. Just a few minutes ago, I mentioned Gerald Dupickle's name about an author that they read. Well, I love that name so much, I started writing some side stories. So here's another series called The Lizardville is a 16-year-old prodigy child facing his worst fears. He's going to college. And when he gets to college, he sees all these guys that are wearing black shirts, and he runs and he hides thinking they are the campus bullies. And when he gets in there into the library, he has a ghostly encounter. And and it's the boys in black who come to his rescue. They're ghost hunters. So he finally finds his niche where he belongs. He's got this connection with the spirit world that just seems to draw him out. But this book took 5th place in Readers' Favorites International Book Awards. In one of the comments, they said it had a Stephen King style ending. And even though it took 5th place, I will take that compliment. Book
That's
2.
awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. In book 2 of the side stories, and I want to mention that The Ghost Hunter and Old Man Smithers are standalone stories. And in this one here, Old Man Smithers is a character that you meet in the Lizardville Ghost Stories. He's just a crotchety old man. And a lot of people have come and sent me emails or asked me questions who have read the books. What is this guy's problem? Why doesn't he like the youth in town? So this story actually goes back 15 years prior to the Lizardville Ghost Stories and slowly tells his story about his life and why he doesn't like the kids and what happened to change his lifestyle. And it slowly intermingles a little bit with the other stories. So, but again, this is a standalone story. If you are going to read the Lizardville Ghost Stories, I would recommend reading them first before you read this. And I have more works coming out. I'm really excited about the newest stuff. I just wrote and finished up a manuscript called The Woman in the Mirror. It is a psychological thriller. The publisher was gracious enough to let me step out of my genre a little bit and write adult psychological thriller, set to release in 2026. And I can't wait to talk more about that in the coming months.
Very cool. So it sounds like those teenagers from Barnes and Noble have many options with your books.
Now they do, yeah. If I could see them now, I'd say, look, I've got plenty of options for you. Go ahead and pick some of those up. And don't worry, there will be a book 3 coming out. I still have to write that a little bit later this year. I'm working on another children's book right now, Gabby and Maddox and the Mayan Curse.
Very cool. That's awesome. Okay, do you want to jump into questions?
Yeah, and first I just want to say, I'm not sure who wrote these questions, but they are pretty bizarre.
Okay, well, let me ask the first one. Hold on.
Okay.
In the world of your books, what is the one strange thing to us that is normal to the characters in your world?
So in my world, I'm going to go with the Lizardville stories. They're all set in the 1970s. And, these is just a group of guys that open up a world, and they find all these spirits and ghosts. And, it's difficult because, like, without giving too much away, they meet a ghost that can kind of transform itself into a crow, into animals, into a lot of different things, and things that they think are real turn out to be spirits. So really kind of a strange scenario. But I mean, how about yourself on that? What are some of the strange things and normal to your characters in your worlds?
Well, my main characters, Kate, Sinclair, Tia, Ian, they all interact with extraterrestrials. So that's something that we don't do in the real world. And and it's a hard time figuring out who's an extraterrestrial and what. So that's the kind of complicated part. And I would also say, and it's funny because my books are kind of like, they're very suspenseful. It's like one day after the shooting, 2 days after the shooting, all the way through. So things happen really fast. But also just that living in a post-global mass shooting, I mean, we're Americans, so we're used to gun violence and we're used to mass shootings, but not a global mass shooting. So my characters have to deal with tens of millions of people dying at almost the exact same time, and the whole aftermath of what happens to society and what happens to the government and who blames who. And so they have to deal with a global mass shooting. And luckily, we never have to deal with that.
Who's going to bury all of them?
It's touched on in the book. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Is that in the book as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh wow! Okay, that's amazing. I'm already intrigued. I'm wanting to go out and pick one of these up already. But do you have any more to say about? I mean, like when you mentioned crazy things like characters in my world, that turn into like crows and fly off, and it's like, how in the world, would you deal with that if it was in the real world today? Because I do believe in spiritual things like that. With the spirits, I'm part of I've gone on a few ghost hunts with the Tampa Bay Spirits paranormal teams, and I've gone to some haunted houses, and we've seen some things that are just unexplainable. So it's like that all kind of fits in my. I'll share something real quick, if you don't mind. We were at one of the scariest houses in Florida. It's called the May Stringer House. And the team was upstairs, and my wife and I were taking a little break downstairs, and it was just the two of us all alone. And it was right about midnight. And she was telling me, my back's bothering me. I really want to go home. And I'm like, no problem. We'll go ahead and wrap it up and get out of here. But let me go say goodbye to the team. So I went upstairs to say goodbye to the team. And when I walked in, they were in the middle of the Estes method, where you've got the headphones on with the white noise, and the woman was blindfolded. So she has no idea what's going on in the room. And, like I said, it's almost midnight. But I walk in the room and I wanted to interrupt them and tell them, hey, we're going to head out and thank you for having us here. But when I walked in, she kind of turned in my direction and she blurted out the words, "Get her home." And I'm like, what? How in the world could someone with headphones and blindfold on even hear that? So crazy things happening, characters and strange things like that. Yeah, it's right up my alley. I love it.
And it's funny because I can't even read horror. I can't watch horror movies. I will have nightmares for days and days and days. So I feel like I do believe in a lot of stuff because why am I so scared of it? You know what I mean? Because it's like in my subconscious is like that could happen. And also like with the extraterrestrials, like, people always ask and talk about, do we believe that there are things out there beyond ourselves? And that's kind of similar to ghosts or spirits. Like we don't like, I imagine, yes, I feel like there is, but we don't have any proof yet necessarily. And also the assumption that it'll be like us and, but there's so much to the issue. And in my books, like, are they scary? Are they not? Like that's, I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, there was a global mass shooting though. So maybe they are scary.
To some people, they will be. I mean, just like my stories. I mean, I because they are YA, I don't use cuss words in any of my work, and I really don't write gory. I'm not.
Mhm.
It's more edge of your seat suspense. I want to keep the readers guessing.
Right.
So a lot of people say, well, I don't really read horror. My wife doesn't like horror films or read horror, but she will read my books because I force her. But but
That's
no,
crazy.
it's
Yeah.
it's true that I mean she says they're more adventure stories than
Mhm.
anything. So if you're looking for a good adventure, check out Lizardville the Ghost Stories, or check out what did you say the series was?
The Impact series.
The Impact series. I said
Mhm.
that sounds like right up my alley. I love extra.
And I will say mine are not gory. I mean, it leaves a lot to the imagination, which,
Yes.
is half of reading anyway, right? Or
So
anything.
are we ready for the next question?
Yes.
CK, are we ready for the next question?
Yes. I think one of us is freezing up, so I have to apologize if it's me. I think you're going to read question 2 and you may have already read it.
I have not.
Okay.
So can you hear me?
Yes.
But I'll go ahead and read the second question. If you
Okay,
were
great.
reincarnated as an animal, what would you choose and why?
Okay, this is a complicated question to me because um, as an environmentalist, I've been a lobbyist, grassroots, policy expert, advocate for the environment for decades. And I've worked on climate change and Clean Water Act and all that. But the most important law to me is the Endangered Species Act and fighting against or slowing the biodiversity extinction crisis. So animals and nature are like my passion. So when people often ask, and at conferences and stuff as icebreakers, if you were to be an animal, what would it be? So I have to live in the moment and say I hiked in West Virginia on Sunday and I saw peregrine falcons and then soaring so freely and in this natural beauty, I would say, yes, I would want to be a bird. I would want to be a peregrine falcon. However, peregrine falcons are listed as endangered species. They're also meat eaters and I'm a vegan. So I was kind of like, do I really want to be a birds of prey raptor? So then I was thinking about a few weeks ago where I was in California and I was whale watching and I saw 31 humpback whales. So I was like, okay, I want to be a whale. Still freedom, but you're going through the oceans and you can go from one continent to the other. And they eat krill and plankton. So it's not as much like hunting. So I said, okay, I'm going to go with whale. But then I thought, you know what? That's still a lot of work. Maybe I just want to be a house cat that is spoiled rotten like my house cats are. And I'm like, that would be... when you're tired, I'm like, that would be the ideal animal. So it's a very long answer, but again, animals is like, I love animals so much. What about you, Steve?
No, that's not a long answer. Well, first off, anybody who knows me knows I'm really big on animals. If you've ever been to one of my book signings at a store or at an event, I always have one of these with me. Be kind to animals on my displays. I've done some work and stuff with the SPCA. We've done some rescues with cats, and the only problem with rescuing cats is I don't want I don't want anyone to take them once I've got them. So at one point we had 6 here, and we lost a couple, but we still have 3 cats, and that's one of our big things. But to answer the question, if I was reincarnated as an animal, it's kind of like you stole my thunder there, but I would want to be a crow because they are spooky. They're like a raven or a crow. I talk about them a lot in my books, so even on some of the covers. And if I had the powers that some of these crows have, that they can change into spirits, ghosts, other animals, as well as being a crow, that would be kind of amazing. I would love that. And but people pick on crows, they shoot at crows and things like that. So
it's ridiculous too, because crows are one of the smartest animals on the planet. They remember people's faces. They can avenge other crows. When one crow dies, they come to figure out why it happened. They are a brilliant animal.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, thank you. I didn't know that. That's pretty, because there's a lot of crows that hang around the front of my house. I don't know why. And every time I walk out there, I'm always calling a certain name to one of them. I'm like, it's one of the characters in my book.
Oh, they know. They know you're talking to them. Crows are very smart.
So, but if like you said there, if I had to really pick one, I would want to be a spoiled cat, not a feral cat. I did find a cat when I was a long time ago, when I was about 8 years ago now, when I was working at a warehouse up in North Tampa. It took me about 6 months to trap this mom and her babies, but once we got them home, they've just loved it. One of them didn't make it, but still, I mean, that's like, people say, well, you can't adopt a feral cat. This cat is so grateful. She follows me everywhere. I mean, yeah, she's like my baby. She's spoiled. And so, yeah, a spoiled cat would be great, or a crow. I didn't know they were that smart, but now I'm glad. Thank you for enlightening me.
Yeah, whenever animals are in a little group too, they have these interesting words. And I swear to God, I think the crow might be a business. Like a bunch of crows together is called like a business. There's like a very interesting word for them because they are so smart. So I'm going to look that up and get it back to you. Or you could look it up. It's very intriguing to me.
Yeah, it is. I will. I'll definitely look that up. I may actually add that in the 3rd book.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm going to be writing another one of these side stories soon. That one will go back to the 1800s. So, but there'll be some crows. Definitely be some crows.
That's awesome. I love that. I have a cat in almost every single one of my books. So that's my little talisman in them. I'm like, yeah, there's a cat in every book. So
I do in my kids' books. I have the cats, and I constantly find different names for the cats. Cats that I've had in the past, cats that I currently have. I honor them all.
Very cool. Yeah. Actually, in Aftermath, the cat is a major role. Not a major role, but yeah, I shouldn't give anything away. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. And most of my characters, at least Tia and Kate, they're vegan too. So that's kind of in there a few times.
Is that a vegan cat?
What?
A vegan cat?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. These are the human characters. That would be funny though, but I don't think that's possible.
Yes, I was gonna say, I don't think that's possible for a cat. Mine love chasing lizards. I live in Florida, so we got lizards everywhere. They love chasing lizards, and they like bringing them in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure they do. And then they take the tail off, right? The tail like wiggles around.
Yeah, that's always fun. And you can always tell they give it away. You walk into a room and there's 3 cats staring at one of the pieces of furniture, and you're like, "What'd you bring in?"
I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Orlando. And then
okay.
I went to Florida International University in Miami, and then I lived in Vero, and I lived really close to Kennedy Space Center for like a while. So I always feel like I'm from Central Florida.
Yeah, I live in Tampa. I've been down here a little over 40 years now.
Wow.
I grew up in a small town of Pennsylvania, joined the military, spent 4 years in the Air Force, and the last stop they had me was here at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, and I never left.
Mm-hmm. Florida's cool. I mean, it's so special, except for like the hurricanes and some of the other issues. It's a pretty amazing place. If I could, I would live there.
Yeah, it's what we call home. So,
Okay, are we ready to go to question 3?
Yeah, that's another bizarre question. I still want to find out who wrote these questions.
Okay, Steve, what is something true of all authors?
I think of all authors, I mean, I think, and I may be way off base here, and I may be totally wrong, but I think at one point in time, um, we all kind of go through like an imposter syndrome, and I think that we like, is my work worthy enough for people to read, and do they like it? And then you go to a show and 10 people are there, waiting to see you, or people that had purchased from you last year are here to pick up your new book, and it just warms your heart. Um, those are things. I mean, I've had so many stories where, that they've come back over and over, and it's like, that's why I do it. That's my love for this. But I think the imposter syndrome is like for me, and I've gone through it a few times where it's like, um, what's going on, I mean, why am I doing this anymore?
Yeah, I completely agree about imposter syndrome. I kind of wish it would go away, but it just comes with each book. You're like, who am I? Who am I to think people are going to want to read this book? Like, but my answer to that question would be, what do I think is true of all authors is they're great storytellers. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's a gift and a creativity in of itself. I mean, it might be fiction or nonfiction. They're still great storytellers. And I think a lot of us probably grew up either writing or telling stories and just loving that. And like, it's kind of like a dream come true to do it on this level where they're published and people can read them. And I would say for fiction writers like us, you have to have a fantastic imagination. And I think it manifests itself in all different ways, the creativity. But, and I'm not saying other people lack it, but there's people that cannot tell a story.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's just not in their nature. Like they don't know how to exaggerate or be, so I feel like it is kind of like special, and it's true, I think, of all authors.
Well, and something you just said there, I mean, some people can't tell a joke.
True.
It reminds me of an old joke that I heard a long time ago, that they were in this prison, and they had so many jokes that they got tired of repeating, so they numbered them all. And this guy stands up and he yells 42, and everybody starts laughing. Another guy stands up, 18, everybody starts laughing. Well, the new guy, he jumps up, 17, nobody laughed. And he sat down, and the other guys, he's looking around, what happened? Why didn't anybody laugh? And they go, well, some people don't know how to tell a joke.
That's a good one. I'm like in my mind trying to think of ones that don't involve swear words or, and I'm coming up blank. Yeah.
That's the only clean joke I think I know. So,
Yeah, I feel like I'm not as much of a good joke teller as I am a storyteller. I'm like, I feel like that's like a thing.
well, and you touched on something there, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, I've seen, like, I know people that have gone to college and mastered in writing and taken all kind of creative writing courses, and I think it's something that you're gifted with, being able to put a story together. I mean, I don't have any formal training to be a writer. It's just something that I've always had a passion to write stories. And it was only, let's see, about 14 years ago, 13, 14 years ago, when I first got published. And it was like, it was started to become a dream come true for me. Because I had always wanted to be a writer, but never really pursued it when I was married and trying to raise a family and things like that. But after they all started moving on, I kind of got into that. But I think it's a gift. It's something that we all draw from things that we know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do your stories take place?
Mine, DC and Florida.
Yeah, DC and Florida. See,
and a little bit in Pennsylvania because I lived there for a while. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
The only ones that are different for me are my Gabby and Maddox adventure stories. They're more of a travel series. They have a lot of facts about places that we visited, and it's always someplace that I've been. It's like we were fortunate enough to be in Italy for a few weeks. we'd be exhausted, get back to the room. My wife would go to bed. I would sit up and take notes for the day and trying to make sure I had enough facts to put in the story. But, we just got back from a trip from Savannah last week, and there'll be a new book coming out probably next year called Gabby and Maddox Visit Haunted Savannah.
That is very cool. And I would add too, like I, as a policy wonk and a DC lobbyist for environmental organizations, that's in there. So it's my experiences with the government, working with agencies, working with law, working with Congress. That's all in the stories too, because they, NASA, when big catastrophic things happen on a national level, of course, the White House and Congress and people like that will be involved, military. So I definitely pull a lot from those experiences as well.
Wow.
And also, again, about writing, like I feel like I'm an environmentalist. I was not supposed to be a writer, but once the pandemic hit and I had all that time because everything shut down in DC, the stories just poured out. I feel like I wrote The Shooting in like a month, and then of course I had to edit it 1,000 times. And then it became Collision, which was book 2, because it kind of evolved into being longer. And then, so so in a weird way, I appreciate the time that the pandemic provided me, because it gave me the opportunity to figure out how much I loved writing.
Wow. Well, I noticed in one of the comments that somebody posted was a group of crows is called a murder.
Oh, that's it. Oh my God, that's why it was stuck in my head. Isn't that kind of crazy? And it goes with your book. Aren't they a little bit like ghosty and stuff? Yeah, a murder of crows. How about that?
Yeah. Now if anyone's I guess Alfred Hitchcock did it right when he had the movie The Crows, or The Birds, he called them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Okay, I think we're supposed to be wrapping up, right? I feel like it's been 30 minutes.
Okay.
Do you want to say like a summary where people can reach you, where they can find your books?
Sure. You want to go first or me?
I can go first. So my books are available through Four Horsemen Publication, basically anywhere books are sold and in all the formats. And they are, and my socials, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, X, and all CK Westbrook author or author CK Westbrook. But if you plug in CK Westbrook, they almost all come up. And I have a newsletter that you get through my website, which is www.ckwestbrook.com. I'd love it if you join my newsletter. And I think that's basically it.
Well, I'm Steve Altier. You can find me. My books are available anywhere books are sold. They are available in ebooks, audiobooks, paperback, or hardcovers. If a bookstore doesn't have them, they can get them for you. Or you can order them direct through my website at www.stevealtier.com. There's a link on there for my bookstore. You can buy them there, and I can even personalize them and autograph them for you if you're looking for autographed copies. And just give me a couple days to get them mailed out. And on my social media stuff, please. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Those are like my 3 favorites. I'm also on X, Pinterest, Tumblr, TikTok a little bit. I'm not great with videos, but I'm a little old school, but I'm getting there. I even have a YouTube channel if you really want to look at some of the ghost stories that I have. There's some of the ghost adventures I've been on, some of the hauntings when we were asking questions. You can find those on the YouTube channel under Ghost Experiences. We're asking questions and they turn on flashlights to answer our questions and turn the flashlights off, or other types of methods that we've used. So that's really interesting if you're into the paranormal elements. But yeah, and you can sign up for my newsletter. Go to my website and there's a link at the bottom of the page to sign up for my newsletter. And I send out a newsletter once a month, unless there's like a new book coming out or I've got some special promotions going on, then might do a second one that month. But would love to have you join our journey, and stay spooky, everybody.
And thank you everyone for joining us on Author 321 tonight. We really, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you, CK.
Thank you, Steve. It was a blast. And thanks, Chelsea.
3, 2, 1, go.